The figure's slow movements become almost hypnotic, its presence commanding the group's attention. For a moment, no one speaks, frozen in anticipation of what might happen next. Then, in a low, measured tone, someone breaks the silence. "Who is it?" The question is barely above a whisper, the words tumbling out from the lips of the group's leader, a soft-spoken woman with a hint of uncertainty in her voice. Her eyes dart towards the mysterious figure, searching for any sign of recognition or explanation. The figure pauses, seemingly taken aback by the sudden outburst. Its gaze lingers on the woman before shifting to take in the rest of the group. It slows its approach, its movements becoming almost mechanical in their deliberateness. I don't know," the leader continues, her voice steady despite the underlying tension. "We've been waiting for weeks. We were told someone would be here, but we didn't expect this." The figure's gaze drags across the group, as if searching for potential threats or advantages. Its presence seems to fill the room, casting long shadows that stretch out like skeletal fingers. The air grows chillier, heavy with an almost palpable sense of unease. Suddenly, the figure vanishes behind a pillar, leaving the group staring after it in confusion. Its disappearance is fleeting, however, and it reappears, its hood thrown back to reveal an unremarkable face. The face is not ugly or striking, simply plain and unremarkable. The figure's gaze sweeps across the group once more before coming to rest on a younger man. He is the group's sole scientist, a lanky and slightly awkward individual with a mop of unruly brown hair. "We have a package for you," the figure adds, its voice still deep and measured, but with a hint of inflection that makes it sound almost like a statement of fact. "A package that will change everything." The group exchanges uneasy glances, unsure of what to make of the figure's words or the package that has been delivered. "We need to talk about this," the leader says finally, taking a tentative step forward. "Can we do that?" The figure nods almost imperceptibly, its face revealing nothing of its emotions or intentions. The group falls into an uneasy silence, their minds racing with possibilities and fears. The figure's nod seems to be the catalyst for the group's collective anxiety. Every person present appears lost in their own thoughts, their faces reflecting a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "You can sit down," the figure continues, its voice steady and devoid of emotion. "We'll go where you want." The group hastily assembles its things, unsure of what action to take next. The leader gestures towards a nearby bench, beckoning the others to follow. The mysterious figure glides effortlessly in behind them, its eyes scanning the surroundings with an unnerving intensity. As they settle, the figure takes its seat beside them, its long legs stretched out before it in an imposing posture. The silence that follows is thick and oppressive, heavy with anticipation. It's the scientist who finally breaks the stillness, his voice barely above a whisper. "What's the package, then?" The figure's gaze flicks to the scientist, and for an instant its expression seems to shift, like a subtle shift in the air. But it's gone in an instant, replaced by the signature neutrality. "It's in a bag," the figure responds, "attached to your belts. The package itself is not what's important, it's what it signifies." The group exchanges uneasy glances, none of them daring to touch their hips. The figure adds, "It will take some time to open it. You have time now to ask questions." The scientist does as he suggested, tugging at his belt. "What do you mean? What does it signify?" The figure's gaze lingers on the scientist, an expressionless pause etched into its features. "You'll understand once the package is open." Without another word, the figure leans forward, peering at its watch face with seemingly great interest. "I have another appointment that has come early. I'll leave you now." This time the group is dismayed. No one speaks as the figure pushes itself to its feet and disappears through a doorway at the far side of the room. The figure gestures to a nearby chair, its hand movement slow and deliberate. The group's leader hesitates for a moment before sitting down. The scientist follows, his eyes fixed on the figure with a mixture of curiosity and wariness. The figure moves to the far end of the room, its gaze sweeping across the space as if ensuring they are truly alone. It stops at a small table where the package is waiting. The package appears to be a simple box, roughly the size of a shoebox, made of rough-hewn wood and tied with twine. The figure opens the box, revealing a small, ornate device inside. The device is spherical in shape, with intricate lines etched into its surface. It pulsates with a soft blue light and emits a low hum. The figure reaches out a hand, touching the device with a long finger. "It is a quantum transceiver," the figure says, its voice filled with a sense of wonder. capable of sending and receiving information across vast distances through space and time. The group exchanges awestruck glances, their minds struggling to comprehend the implications of such a device. The scientist's eyes light up with excitement as he reaches out to examine the device more closely. What is it for? The leader asks, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure pauses, its gaze sweeping across the group. It has the potential to revolutionize our understanding of the universe, it says, its voice dripping with gravity, to unlock the secrets of the cosmos and reveal the mysteries that have been hidden for so long. The group falls into a stunned silence, their minds reeling with the possibilities. The scientist looks up, his eyes shining with excitement. We can use it to communicate with other civilizations, he whispers, to explore the universe and learn its secrets. The leader's expression turns cautious, her eyes narrowing. We need to be careful, she says, her voice firm. We don't know what this device is capable of or what the consequences of using it might be. The figure nods, its gaze seeming to bore into the group's souls. Of course, it says, its voice filled with a sense of understanding. We must proceed with caution, but we cannot ignore the potential that this device offers. We must seize it and unlock its secrets. The group falls into a silence, each member lost in their own thoughts and fears. The scientist's eyes are shining with excitement, but the leader's expression remains cautious. The figure's words have ignited a spark within them all, but also a sense of uncertainty and trepidation. As they sit in silence, a sudden noise echoes through the room. It is a low, rumbling sound, like thunder on the horizon. The group's heads snap up, their eyes scanning the space. What was that? The leader asks, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure's gaze is fixed on the entrance to the room, its hand still grasping the device. I don't know, it says, its voice filled with concern, but I think we're about to find out. The figure gestures towards a nearby chair, its movements still slow and deliberate. The leader hesitates for a moment before approaching the figure and taking a seat. I am Ralther, the figure says, its voice low and even, yet somehow carrying an undercurrent of familiarity that makes it hard for the group to wrap their heads around. I have been sent to deliver a message, a package of sorts. I suppose it's complicated, but I won't elaborate. Not yet. Ralther pauses, surveying the group before nodding slightly. I come from a place called Azura. It's not on any map, not that I've seen. It exists outside of the conventional world, parallel in some ways and separate in others. As Ralther speaks, its gaze roams over the group, as if making mental calculations of their individual reactions to the news. We have technology that transcends what you're used to, technology that's been developing, independently of your own. We've had our own version of discovery, if you will. The group exchanges uneasy glances, their faces reflecting their confusion and apprehension. The leader tries to keep her voice steady. What do you mean? Ralther begins to pace, its movements no longer slow and deliberate, but rather fluid and almost practiced. You humans think of time as a linear progression, with each event building upon the last, but we see it differently. Our perception of time is more flexible. The group's scientist blinks, his eyes widening with interest. What kind of technology are we talking about? He asks, his voice taking on a professional tone. Ralther stops pacing and turns to face him, its gaze piercing. Technology that accesses the underlying fabric of reality, Ralther says, its voice dripping with an air of nonchalance that clashes with the hint of intensity behind its words. Time and space. We can manipulate these concepts, bend them to our will. We have made promises that need to be kept. The room seems to darken as Ralther's words hang in the air. The group's leader frowns, trying to understand the implications of what she's being told. What kind of promises? As the figure nods, its gaze remains fixed on the group, as if daring them to try and read its intentions. The leader, still hesitant, takes another step forward, her eyes never leaving the figure's face. I think we need to get out of here, she says, her voice low and urgent. We don't know who you are or what you want. The figure's gaze never wavers, its expression remaining impassive. I don't want you to run, it says, its voice dripping with condescension. I want to show you something. The group exchanges uneasy glances, unsure of what to do next. The scientist, still clutching a small briefcase, looks like he's weighing his options. What is it? The scientist asks finally, his voice cautious. What's in the package? The figure smiles, a faint, almost imperceptible smile. Ah, that would be telling, it says, its voice dripping with sarcasm. But for now, let's just say that it's something you don't want to miss. The group tenses, their senses on high alert. Something feels off and they can't quite put their finger on it. Okay, the leader says finally, her voice firm. We'll listen. But if you're trying to trick us, you'll regret it. The figure's gaze lingers on the leader before shifting to take in the rest of the group. "I'm not trying to trick you," it says, its voice still measured. "I'm trying to show you something that will change your lives forever." The group exchanges uncertain glances. What could this figure possibly want to show them? And what could be so powerful that it would change their lives forever? Suddenly, the figure's gaze snaps to the scientist, who's been quietly whistling a tune. "Yes," the figure says, its voice low and intent, "and I think that's exactly where you'll find the key to understanding everything." The scientist looks up, his eyes wide with excitement. "Understanding what?" he asks, his voice barely above a whisper. The figure's gaze never wavers, its expression still impassive. "Everything," it says, its voice dripping with certainty. "And then, of course, there's the price you'll have to pay." The group exchanges uneasy glances, unsure of what to make of the figure's words or what they might actually mean. "What price?" the leader asks finally, her voice firm. The figure's gaze slips to the group, its eyes glinting with a sinister intensity. "Ah, that's for me to know," it says, its voice dripping with malevolence. "And for now, let's just say that the price of knowledge is always a steep one." As the figure continues to speak, its words dripping with an air of superiority, the group can't shake the feeling that they're staring into the eye of madness. The group takes a cautious step closer, their eyes fixed on the figure and its face. The scientist steps forward, his mind racing with questions and theories. "What kind of package?" he asks, his voice barely above a whisper. The figure holds out a small, unmarked box. It's made of a clear material, allowing a faint glow to emanate from within. "It's contained somehow," the figure says, its voice steady. "But it's nothing ordinary. Inside you'll find instructions." The leader takes the box from the figure, her eyes scanning the surface for any markings or clues. "Instructions?" she repeats, her voice laced with skepticism. "What kind of instructions?" The figure shrugs almost imperceptibly, its shoulders barely rising. "Instructions on how to activate it, open it." The group exchanges uneasy glances, their minds racing with possibilities. One of them, a quiet, introspective woman, speaks up. "We can't just open it without knowing what it does," she says, her voice firm. "That could be dangerous." The figure's gaze drifts towards her, its expression unreadable. "You don't understand," it says, its voice low and measured. "The package is a key to something much bigger, something that could change everything." The group falls into a tense silence, their minds racing with questions and fears. The scientist begins to examine the box more closely, searching for any hidden clues or markings. As he turns it over in his hands, a faint hum begins to emanate from within. "What's happening?" the leader asks, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure's gaze drifts towards the box, its expression unreadable. "I think it's trying to open itself." The box begins to glow brighter, the hum growing in intensity. The group exchanges uneasy glances, their hearts racing with anticipation and fear. Suddenly, the box erupts in a blast of light and energy, the hum ceasing instantly. The group shields their eyes, wincing in response to the sudden brightness. When they open them again, the box has disappeared, and in its place, a small device sits on the floor. It's a small, spherical object with swirling patterns etched into its surface. "What was that?" the leader asks, her voice barely above a whisper. The figure's gaze drifts towards the device, its expression unreadable. "I'm not sure, but I think it's the start of something new, something bigger, something we can't even imagine." The group falls into an uneasy silence, their minds racing with possibilities and fears. As they look at each other, each one of them knows that their lives will never be the same again. The world has changed, and they are now a part of it. The figure steps forward, its gaze sweeping across the group. "You're all being scanned," it says, its voice still deep and measured, but with a hint of a smile. As part of the experiment, the group exchanges uneasy glances, unsure of what to make of the figure's words or the device that has been left on the floor. "We're being scanned," the leader asks, her voice steady. The figure nods almost imperceptibly. "Yes, you're all part of the program now, and it's going to change you forever." As the group watches in stunned silence, the figure's form begins to fade away, disappearing into the shadows like it never existed. But in its place, a small, glowing light remains, pulsating softly on the floor. The group knows that they are now part of something much bigger than themselves, something that will change the course of human history forever. And as they stand there, frozen in anticipation and fear, they know that their journey is only just beginning. The device on the floor begins to glow brighter, its patterns shifting and swirling as it adapts to the group's energy. And as they watch in awe, they realize that it's not just a simple device, it's a doorway to something much bigger. something that will unlock the secrets of the universe and reveal the true nature of reality. The group takes a deep breath, their hearts racing with anticipation and fear. They know that they are now at the threshold of a new era, an era that will change the world forever. As they look at each other, they know that they are ready to face whatever comes next. They are ready to unlock the secrets of the universe and to discover the true nature of reality. And with that, they take the next step, stepping forward into the unknown and into the world that awaits.